All right, folks, welcome in. Here we are, Mason Voth, Drew Galloway. It is late or early, depending on where you are. If you are in the Eastern time zone, like Mr. Galloway, yeah, it is Saturday. It is game day. It's game day, Drew. Are you excited? Sunflower Showdown.
No.
Still tomorrow for me. We're going to hope to be done with this before it turns into tomorrow for me. But here we are because it played out like a real basketball game in terms of the like
There was no
the gameplay.
tomfoolery going on in the gameplay.
Yeah, it just the rotations and other stuff wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, but I understand why it played out that way. As Drew pointed out, yes, I am back in the takes dungeon, aka the Spider Dome down here. So you got to keep your head on a swivel. Always wearing shoes down here. Cannot trust my surroundings. But we are going to talk about K-State's 191 loss in the exhibition to Missouri. Look, Missouri was a good team last year. They're going to be a good team this year. They were picked to finish 7th in the SEC preseason. Chance that the SEC ends up being the best college basketball conference in the country this year. So 7th is nothing to sneeze at. They returned a decent amount from last year's team. And I don't know enough about Missouri's roster or their situation. But looking at, how things played out for them, they played a lot of different guys. But early on, when they did a lot of their damage, they didn't score a bucket in the last 5 minutes of the game. It was probably a little bit closer to what you might see rotationally for them this year. K-State started first half. It was 5 on, 5 off. And when you're platooning like that, knowing that K-State is not a team that can actually go 10 deep this season.
No.
And if they are a team that can go 10 deep, I don't think that some of the, if they get to the point where they could do that, it would not be with some of the guys that were a part of the 10 that played in the first half.
There aren't many teams that I think can go 10 deep in the entire country. And K-State did that for like 15 minutes of the first half. It was every media timeout, a new 5 would come in. So that was where it got a little wonky. And I think that's also like when that second group came in for that their second little 4 or 5 minute stretch is when Missouri really ballooned the lead. And then it didn't really feel like K-State was ever truly back in the game. They did miss a couple looks that you would hope that would go down in an actual game that matters, because it was I think it was a 6-point game at one point, and Haggerty had a wide open look from 3 and it rattled out. That's one that you need to drop in an actual game. But there was no tomfoolery outside of the rotations. There will not be a game this season, I don't think, that you will see David Castillo on the floor for the first 10 minutes of a second half like he was tonight. So there was some good, some bad, some really bad, some real positives. I thought that Nate Johnson was awesome tonight. And I guess we'll just jump in from there. If that was the Nate Johnson that the coaches have been wanting to still see more out of him and still be aggressive, he's going to be a stud, because he was easily the second best player on the floor for K-State tonight. Got to the rim pretty easily at times, was much better and looked much better shooting the 3 than he did at Akron last year. I know that's a 1 game, and really you called it game 0, but then you also called it game -1 to me.
It played a lot more like game -1 than game 0.
Yes. So it's a 1 game sample size, but he looked really comfortable shooting the 3, which was good to see. And then just the ability for him, I think, to get to the rim is a big deal for this team. PJ Haggerty kind of is what he is. He can get a bucket whenever a team needs it.
It felt like a quiet 21. Not that you noticed him on the floor,
yeah,
but it didn't feel like he scored 21 points tonight.
It was a very smooth 21. That's just got the kind of player that he is. So really fun to see that play out. And it never felt like he was really forcing it, because like you said, it was a quiet 21. And anytime you can get 21 on 13 shots, you're doing something right.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was efficient tonight, 6 assists for him. And to note in this, turnover wise, only 2 turnovers there. K-State only 10 turnovers as a team, also just as significant as not turning it over that much. They were able to even out the turnovers. Mizzou turned it over 10 times. And that was something that is an emphasis for this team this year, is that what really set them back, and it comes across as a total defensive thing the last few years, is that they weren't forcing turnovers at the level that they did in year one. Because this is an offense and a team that, based on the style that Jerome Tang is going to encourage them to play and the type of players that he brings in, they're going to turn the ball over some. So
Yeah.
you're going to have to live with that. The last 2 years, the teams weren't capable of forcing turnovers on the other end like the 2023 team was able to do. This year, I think you're going to have a better chance of doing that. Another thing that'll hit on is the pace of the game that K-State played and is going to play. That's why this exhibition game final score was 191. They're
Yeah.
going to try to play quicker. And because it's a new team, first game, all that, and Missouri kind of a bad matchup given the size that they could throw out there to start the game, and we know that that's going to be K-State's biggest weakness this year, is the size situation, and we saw it immediately where it just Kamari McGriff wasn't ready to handle what was inside for him. Doreen Buka maybe showed me a little more than I was anticipating, but you could still tell just not ready for it. And then you don't have a ton of other great size options beyond that, because the next man up in that category would be Moby Ike-Garuke, and it's just like, that's not really like he's Moby's definitely not a 5.
No.
Like, and I thought Moby did some things that were better,
Yes.
and I think he showed some better touch, and like I'm encouraged that, like, he could maybe instead of being a 7-minute a game guy, he could be a 12-minute a game type of player this year, but that to me set up a lot of Missouri was able to get what they wanted on offense. It prevented K-State from many opportunities where they could kind of run out, because Missouri was able to get better shots, whereas K-State ended up not necessarily getting the better one. So Missouri was able to capitalize more on the fast break points. That's why K-State got dominated there.
Yeah.
29-9 was the fast break points total.
It is a bit concerning with how fast K-State wants to play this year that it was so lopsided and fast break points. Like, that's the one like real negative that I have, is like, and I pointed it out and posted about it the first half, where it wasn't necessarily always like when a missed shot happened that K-State was slow getting back. Like, they were slow getting back after made baskets too. And like that was kind of a bugaboo at times last year. And to see it pop up in game -1, it is a little concerning. It's more of like, okay, is this going to be something that gets fixed by the time that you play in Kansas City? Because it needs to be fixed by that point, because again, that's a time where you could truly lose a game next.
And I'm encouraged enough by what I saw tonight to right now, like, I'm not worrying about it yet. Like, we'll see what this team looks like a month from now, and if it's something that needs to be worried about going into those games. But like, I think they showed enough that they deserve the grace that should come with starting off the season like this, and getting out there, and so I think that they will come together. Some of these things are going to get better. Like, if that's the game -1 performance, game -1 performance, like, because it doesn't count exhibition and stuff. I think that's about as good as you could have asked for. Like, I think there was a world tonight where K-State wins that game,
Yeah.
but given how they structured it, like you can see with the numbers that I put up on the screen, there's a reason why I put the minutes played for certain guys on there,
There
because it's
there
not a normal game if PJ Haggerty's playing 25 minutes and Nate Johnson's playing 23 and Abdi Bashir's playing 22.
there will not be a game this year, I don't think. Like
PJ
something
Haggerty, unless he's in foul trouble, won't have another first half this year, aside from Newman on Friday, where he plays 14 minutes or less. I bet he doesn't even have a half that he goes less than 16 minutes. Probably
I
even higher than that.
I was going to raise you and say that there's not going to be another game this year unless something really goes wrong. That CJ Jones and and David Castillo are like two of your top 4 in minutes played in a second half of a game.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
David Castillo played as much in the second half as Nate Johnson and PJ Haggerty. And that's not going to happen in an actual game.
I mean, Taj Manning played more than Andre Kostic in the second half. That's just not going to happen. So, and this would go down to like, if you're coming here because they lost, you have a vendetta against this staff and this team, and you're like, well, Mason's typically the negative guy. He likes to light some asses on fire. Like, let's hear it. It's not going to be that tonight. I was really encouraged by what we saw for the most part. And like I told people, there is a world in which overreactions would be warranted for this game. I don't think they are, though. Like, I think if you are strongly overreacting to this game, you're borderline making a fool of yourself for this. But the only real criticism that I have based off what happened tonight is I didn't like how they handled the rotations. If you wanted to do that against Newman on Halloween, go for it. Perfect time to do it. Tonight, I think would have been, and I get you don't want to just first game, it doesn't count, throw everybody out there and go 100% balls to the wall type of deal. But I think it would have been nice for everybody to kind of get that measuring stick game. And really, Jerome Tang kind of took it out of the hands of the situation for it to be that type of game. And so it's, it's a good strategic move on his part, because I think individually we were able to get a decent idea from all these guys on kind of things we like, things we don't like, what we think can get better, what we know won't get better. And so he probably got that idea too. I mean, they're smarter than us on this, so I bet they did. But it did limit what the actual takeaway and thought can be on this team overall, which I'm sure was a plan there. So like when he said on Wednesday that, we're going to win, like we're playing to win this thing, that's true. Like they played it like they wanted to win it, in terms of like when you had the 5 on the floor, they were nameless players essentially. So you're doing things like, this is what we're doing to win, except like our eyes can see that's not PJ Haggerty on the floor. That's David Castillo. Oh, that's not Andre Kostic or Elias Rapiak on the floor. That's Taj Manning. Like, it's just it's a weird thing, but I think people understand what I'm saying, where we didn't get a real look at K-State tonight. We got a really strong partial look, and there are a lot of things that I like from it, but I'm just a little sad that we didn't get a real K-State versus Missouri type of deal, because I just have to now say I think this team's still going to be really good, like I was planning on. I can't definitively say it after what we saw tonight.
No, and I think that anybody that went into this game like expecting K-State to win is also a little foolish, with just how much that Missouri has a lot more returning production and returning players than K-State does. And I mean, they highlighted that throughout the broadcast. I felt like about like this
this was a legit team last year, and you went on the road at 9:00
with legitimate returning players. Like the Missouri returned 3 starters from a year ago. 1 didn't even play tonight, and then returned a couple other like bench pieces, and like K-State 10 newcomers. And of the returning players, like you didn't really return anybody that you would think is going to be like a huge contributor outside of like 10 to 12 minutes a night. So because of that, like you were kind of foolish if you thought K-State was going to win. And then the other kind of takeaway that I've been seeing a lot that just kind of leaves me scratching my head, because I thought that this was kind of something that you anticipated coming into the year, was a lot of discourse about like K-State is a lot worse when PJ Haggerty isn't on the floor. Like we all knew this. He was an All-American last year for a reason. He's going to be K-State's best player. When he's not out there, they're not going to be very good. It's going to be like treading water. And I'm fascinated, and this is going to be where we really see Jerome Tang grow as a coach. How does he manage PJ Haggerty's minutes, and how he comes out and when he comes out of games?
Yeah,
because he is clearly the best player and best offensive player and most skilled and talented playmaker on the roster. So like when he's not on the floor, it's going to look a little wonky at times. And then tonight, you can't really judge that because there was also a lot of times where, like, if Haggerty wasn't on the floor, neither was Nate Johnson.
Yeah.
So, like, you didn't really get to see, like, what Nate Johnson would look like as the lead guard. And instead, you had, like, CJ Jones and David Castillo come in, and they were the lead guards when Haggerty wasn't on the floor. So, a little tough to glean anything from that. But yeah, the discourse about this team being not very good when Haggerty isn't on the floor, like that was not news to me.
And
I fully anticipated that coming into the year.
and judging a shooter like Abdi Bashir off of one game where he goes 2 of 7 from 3, like that's not even like a horrific night for a shooter in terms of like you're gonna get nights where we saw it from Brendan Hazen last year. I mean, people wanted to crucify Brendan Hazen for what he did last season, and he still ended up shooting almost 40% from 3. But guess what? He had some games where there were some offers. Like that's the name of the game when you're a shooter. Yeah, he went 0 for 5 shooting against Cincinnati, but you know what he did for the season last year, a-okay with me, 38.8% from 3. I'd sign up to have him back this year. So like I want to overreact to Abdi Bashir. To me, the thing that I theorized last week when I did the fast break episode of Bosco's Boys with Scott was I almost wonder if Abdi Bashir, when you get down to brass tacks this season, if it would be better for him to come off the bench. And so then you're finding a little bit of a different combo, and at least 1 through 3, then you're going a little bit bigger, and maybe you can make up for some your lack of size 4 and 5 at that spot, and then you have that little burst off the bench. So like when Haggerty has to come off, then you're getting Bashir. Like, and again, the starting 5 doesn't really matter a ton in basketball. It's just, if you're going to leave him out there and like you start slow every game, then yes, your starting 5 matters. But it's more so about how the minutes are accrued by each player and what the rotations look like. So it's not the most significant deal of how you decide to do it and get to that point. But like, we're going to need to see early on, okay, how does this team live when it's only Bashir and Johnson that can be on the floor as your 2 guards?
And that's what I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to see, because we saw a lot of no Haggerty lineups, but you, again, like I pointed
Yeah,
out, we never saw Johnson and Bashir on the floor without
the
Haggerty.
the pods essentially stayed too similar, for sure in the first half. I don't know that they adjusted them at all when they were subbing in and out. And then in the second half, it was bogged down by a lot of guys. I'm like, these guys really aren't going to play that many minutes. So that to me is the biggest takeaway here is like you got stuff individually. I don't think people should overreact to it in a bad way, but just know that like something was left out there. And I think you're going to probably see a very similar circumstance Friday against Newman. Because here's
I
the deal.
I
This
bet
team that played tonight is going to show up and beat Newman by 30 easy. And that's to me the nice thing to say about this year's team compared to last year and even the year before that. Like, I don't think this team's going to screw around against Newman. I think they're going to go out there and have a pretty comfortable night. And that's what it should be when you're playing D2 schools that are, play on the south side of Kellogg.
I bet that Haggerty actually plays less Friday night than he did tonight. Like I could see that only being like a 15 to 20-minute kind of night for him.
Let's get into some of the comments real quick. We start with Ron of Chicago. When will Tang learn to shut up? Abdi, best shooter in America, then goes out and has bad nights. Sorry, fans think he's bad. Just say players are really good. Yeah, look, we touched on the Abdi shooting night thing already. Certainly, Jerome Tang likes to be hyperbolic about his guys. I understand what he was doing on Wednesday, where he was trying to emphasize like I'm going to hold these guys to this high standard and push them to get there. And like, if you're a coach, like in that moment, you should believe in terms of what you can do or get your guys to do that hey, my guy is going to be the best at this. Like we're going to get him to that level. Like that's how you should be. That's how competitors should be. Like if I went up and teed it up against, I mean, maybe not tomorrow, I would probably have the advantage since he's borderline crippled right now. But If I went out and I teed it up against Tiger Woods, 18 holes of match play heading my way, I would be telling myself that I can be in this thing. I can win this thing because that's just what competitors do. So to me, I wouldn't overreact to what Jerome Tang said about that. I understand it's eye popping. It can be eye rolling and frustrating to have that happen. And then you want to see guys come out and do well instantly. But I think he was saying it in a way of like, I believe in these guys. I'm holding them to this. And the other one from Ron, always thought the 1-2 will be PJ and Nate, not PJ and Abdi. Also, not putting a lot into the result. No way Jones and Castillo play that many minutes in a game. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's going to be times though where the 1 and 2 combo is going to be PJ and Abdi because there's going to be a game where Abdi makes 5 or 6 threes.
Well, and like the beauty of it too is that this team, I already feel good in saying you're going to have nights where PJ doesn't have to be the 1 or the 2. Now, when you're playing Houston or Kansas or Iowa State, like
or BYU,
you're going to need PJ Haggerty to be one of the top 2 guys on the floor, and you're gonna need a third to step up in those games. That's how you win those. I mean, go look at how K-State played against Iowa State names last year, but you're going to be able to play teams around your level or lower to where if it's a bad night for Haggerty, you're going to be fine. You can beat Arizona State without PJ Haggerty being one of your 2 best players. I think you can even beat Cincinnati without PJ Haggerty being one of your 2 best players. So, and I see with this team, I think you have the ability to do that. Dylan says, already see this group plays harder and more together.
They definitely play more together.
I think that's one of the takeaways from the night is that you already saw a little bit of what that maturity that Jerome Tang talked about on Wednesday was, and that this team, they are in it. You didn't see a lot of like bad play happens. Oh, we're just out of it. We give up. There wasn't a lot of giving up on things. Now they're going to have to work a little bit harder on getting back on at certain times and trying to find ways to not let being overmatched in areas overwhelm them. So you're going to have to get a little scrappier and feistier with that. But I think this team can get there, and they can get there because I do think that mindset was better tonight. So absolutely. And I saw other people in the game thread talking about the fact that this team already infinitely easier to root for from last year. And that's true. That's what you're going to get out of this team. And that's what makes you believe that what you saw tonight is not the finished product, and they will continue to prove. Each game, this team will get better. Last year's team, they weren't going to get better on a game-to-game basis because of who they were mentally, and that really limits what you can be long-term.
Yeah, they play a lot harder and a lot more together. I will say, as a returner, you don't love seeing CJ Jones getting into it like multiple times when the game was well out of hand, and then in the handshake line. But I don't think that he was necessarily alone in that, especially after the game. It looked like it was a little on both sides. But
well, look, I think Missouri was setting up for that all night long. I think if you wanted to be a stricter ref, you probably could have given out a T or 2 on some of the embellished dunk finishes that Missouri had. So I think that they were probably getting there. Yes, Jonathan, that is the target dog behind me. That would be a target bag that we when we go on the road, all of our dogs like food supplies goes in. Great eye by you. So yeah, the dust up. Look, I don't think it was a great look for CJ Jones to be a part of it, given the fact that he barely made it back onto the team because he was portaling, couldn't find anything. So then, it's kind of like the good graces are like, yeah, sure, come back. Like if you're that type of guy, you have to have the awareness to be like, I can't become a headache for this team because I am easily expendable. So yeah, that wasn't great because it was like, just when it felt like everything was going to be harmonious this year, you got a post-game dust up in an exhibition where the wins and losses don't matter.
Like, of the 2 things that like concerned me from this game, like that was the most concerning. Like the fast break defense was terrible, but like that is something I think will get fixed. Like, I just don't have to have like headaches after games and like You see people getting dust ups. Missouri did kind of overreact.
They were trying to build up for it the entire game.
The foul that led to the first dust up, like that's just basketball. And then Dennis Gates is an idiot for trying to get a flagrant on Haggerty during the game as well. Will they be able to rebound well enough in the Big 12? I saw that comment. Rebounding weird tonight. Felt more lopsided than it was. It only ended up being 38-34.
And K-State won offensive boards.
Yes, and K-State won offensive boards. Did not win second chance points, which was a little concerning when you have offensive rebounding.
But you know what? There were times where I watched and I went, this team did a better job of having kind of a feel for the game. And like when you have the ball in a certain spot, just go up with it. And so like that's where I think you see some of the things and go, okay, that can be fixed. Like you talked about, the fast break defense can get better. Like it wasn't the fact that like sometimes they needed to get back, but other times they were there. They're just going to have to be coached up a little bit more. Like, hey, here's how we're going to defend against this, even though you might be undersized in this situation, or because Missouri's just out of control trying to run it down your throat. So I like that was another thing where I think you're going to see.
I will say, for them to be a better rebounding team in the Big 12, you're going to need Nate Johnson to do what he did tonight and get 6 rebounds a game. Like he's going to have to be one of the best rebounders on the team.
Yeah. A little shout out in the good way for Abdi Bashir. Was playing good off ball defense, though. Liked his assist as well. I think I watched and didn't think he was overwhelmed in any way, just other than shots didn't fall tonight. And again, that's going to happen. And I'm going to stick up for my shooters. You know, Andre Kostic took a shot. It was an ugly looking brick, but guess what? Keep firing 4-7. That's what you got to do. You know.
No, I'm for it. Like if you are a good shooter, you're gonna have, it's just the ebbs and flows of the game. Like Steph Curry has bad shooting games and is the best shooter of all time that has ever.
Yeah.
So like because of that, like there's nothing to really be concerned about. Volleyball winning was awesome.
Yep.
I watched the end on my phone and watched part of the 5th set while the basketball game was at halftime. A little bit of baseball beat KU, volleyball now beats KU. It's football next. I don't know.
Yeah. I will say this. I was behind the mic for 4 K-State volleyball games back in the day, 3 on radio. I did PA for a game in a Hearn one time. PA for volleyball, worst experience of my life. You know, you're just baking in there, and Susie Fritz had all these regulations on what she wanted. Like you had to introduce the entire team before the game, and then it's really awkward what you have to do every time K-State scores, because you have to go point Cats, and that's just not like the type of person that I am. They lost that match, and then I went and I did a tournament that they played in Springfield against all mid-major teams. Like there was not a high major team there. They lost to Missouri State, Weaver State, and I can't remember who the other one was. Just 0-3 weekend, back on the bus.
That's rough.
90% of the women on the team, just 0 F's given that they had just gotten their butt kicked by terrible teams. Like I helicoptered in for 2 days of volleyball, and I think I was more pissed off about the losses than them. Meanwhile, they're just getting on the bus, grabbing a Chick-fil-A, having a good time, being loud, being noisy. And I'm like, this would not. That's when I knew that the Susie Fritz era was in trouble, when it was like, this team is not banged up about getting their butts handed to them. I think the only person on that team that I was like, she is taking this hard. She's taking this like a competitor should. You won't be surprised to find this out, Drew. This was my senior year of college. It was Peyton Williams.
No, that makes sense.
You know, she kind of played for a serious program when she was at K-State.
Hang both of her jerseys in the rafters.
I mean, yeah. Shout out.
Like that.
We also had biological anthropology together. And I guarantee you, she went way harder in that class than I did. So Shout out to Peyton Williams. A couple other things we'll hit on here real quick. The question about where Marcus Johnson was.
Only player outside of Stephen Osei that didn't play. I don't expect a lot of Marcus Johnson, period.
There was a lot brought up on Wednesday when he was discussed about like he can do this, but he's working on the conditioning. So I'm guessing that it was just he hadn't hit a benchmark and a barometer yet this season. To that they were like, we're not going to play you until we think that you're to this point. And based on what I saw tonight, like he's not going to be integral what he could bring to like needing that. Like you could be in some games where you have some offensive struggles and you need another shooter, so you get him out there. But like
he is a candidate though, and I talked about this on my fast break episode with Scott, that there's going to be a time where like he just lights somebody up and then doesn't play for a little bit. And like Mississippi Valley State feels like the team that's going to get victimized.
Yeah, that's true. Eric said, I thought we were going to stop taking the difficult mid-range twos with the layups, dunks, and rhythm threes mantra. CJ still takes these really difficult shots that almost never go in like last year. Yeah, and that plays into like we don't think you're going to see that much CJ Jones during the regular season. And then on top of that, like just a weird game. Like you're going to see more of that pace get involved, and it's going to look a lot smoother for this team as the season progresses. And like you pointed out, Drew, like you really just need to have it firing in all cylinders when you go to Kansas City for the Hall of Fame tournament at the end of November, because you're going to play those two, and then that following Tuesday play in Bloomington against Indiana. That's when the schedule picks up, even though you'll play Cal fairly early in the year. That they're nothing to write home about. So I think it's going to get better on that. And tonight was just, kind of a strange night. And again, it all comes back to the personnel just wasn't built for a true like whole team look and understanding of what this team is going to be this season. So I think we'll see kind of how things move forward. But I was not discouraged by what I saw tonight, and that could be shocking to some because I am one of those that I say expect the worst, get the best, that type of thing. And I came out of that game going, hey, you know what? I'm not going to have a bad thing to say about it. Like I still feel good about this team, and they're going to run through Newman on Friday. And when they get out there against UNCG on Tuesday, when the wins and losses start counting, they're going to cover in honor, of Terry Rozier. They're going to go out there and get the job done. So I feel good about where this team sits right now.
There's a lot more positives than negatives for sure.
Yeah.
And like that's all you really wanted to see. Like this wasn't Cincinnati getting ran out of the gym by Arkansas today, or like some of the other results that you've seen throughout Big 12 play.
I mean, Purdue got housed at Kentucky tonight.
Yeah, and like there's probably a 0% chance that Matt Painter cares that they lost that game. Like that's just kind of how these goes. And that's why like I caught myself a few times in the first half of like having to remind myself that this game doesn't really truly matter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just don't think that it's a huge deal and something to overreact to. So,
which is why I propose that K-State and Missouri play a game that actually matters.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But also, you know what? If you wanted to make this like a typical type of matchup every year where you're just alternating back and forth, exhibitions between these two teams, I think that's a good setup, because after playing it tonight, as much as I wish these matchups counted for real because it makes for a better stretch, I think it's good, and it's nice to kind of get an idea against better competition. And it was, fun to have like no pressure on this game really in any way. So, keep setting this up, because I was actually pleasantly surprised at what I got out of this game and viewed it as. So
at least need to get one of these a year against a power conference competition. I mean, Cincinnati played both of their exhibition games already against power competition. And I think that more and more you're going to see that. And like, I hate that for like the D2 schools, but like at the same time, it makes a lot of sense that Power 4 schools would want to do that.
Yeah, and also it doesn't really impact them too much, I would say, because if you look at like a lot of teams have gone away from the two exhibition game model in
Yeah.
recent years, so they were only playing the one. So like you took that game away from one of the in-state D2s a long time ago. So which is in a way is kind of unfortunate. Like there's a little bit of nostalgia wrapped up in the fact that like I'm gonna get to watch K-State play Pitt State and Newman before like the season starts, and it feels like I don't know, there's just something about that where you kind of go, but
Uh,
I get why they've gone this way.
you're also not doing it right as a program if you're playing these Power Four games and you're still having it be like a secret scrimmage instead of having it on TV or
Yeah,
ESPN Plus or Peacock or literally anything else. Like you're kind of losing out if you're doing that because there was a lot of talk during the game, more than I expected for a later start. And again, it didn't really matter. So I think that you're really losing out if you're not doing that. Like next year, probably not going to be on TV just because it's the Big 12 doesn't have like a designated network that they can do this on. But I can guarantee that the game will be on ESPN Plus.
yeah, we're gonna be able to watch these moving forward. So like to me, that's a big deal and a good thing. So
Wouldn't hate though if Peacock decided that they wanted it for whatever reason.
hey,
Because
I'm all in on Peacock. I can't
that,
wait for the Peacock games this year.
as we discussed earlier tonight, ESPN, the app and ESPN Plus is just so far
Yeah,
behind where Peacock is, or any of the other like streaming. Like Netflix even does like football and all that better than I think that ESPN Plus does, and the ESPN app does, and Amazon Prime blew ESPN's basketball coverage out of the water today.
yeah.
So you're ESPN had such a head start on making like streaming good and just lost it.
Hey, how do you feel about I was just looking at Texas Tech going no exhibition games this year.
That is nuts. They had to have
Yeah,
I think they did a secret scrimmage against Oklahoma, and that's like one of the points where like I say
they
like
did.
you're doing it wrong if you're playing these power competition games, and especially against like I can guarantee that at least the Texas Tech crowd would be pretty fired up to play Oklahoma in an exhibition basketball game just with how everything went down with Oklahoma. So you're kind of doing that wrong.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts that you need to get tossed out there from what we saw tonight or moving forward?
No, you'd like to see getting to the free throw line more than the opponent
Yeah.
in an actual game. Like this K-State team is going to be able to get to the free throw line a lot, which is why I say like they need to outshoot their team, the opponent from the free throw line,
Yeah.
and they didn't tonight.
Yeah. Came up just short of it. Also, Mizzou got there 13 more times. Officiating was a little suspect at certain moments, I would say. So I mean, I was encouraged again. That's one of those areas where you got beat on it tonight, but I feel better about it
Oh,
moving forward.
and then my other comment was actually something that I saw in our comment section about talking about the crowd. That is where I think that if the game actually did matter, you would have saw a lot more people there.
Yeah. I mean,
And
if the game actually mattered, I probably would have been there tonight.
and if it didn't start at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Central Time.
And I agree with Bracket Cat that this is probably a pretty popular road trip for football this year uh, for
Yeah.
for Missouri fans to go to Nashville. So yeah, there you go. All right, well that'll do it for us today. Even went a little bit longer than I was anticipating. That's how good of a night it was. Appreciate everybody staying up late to be a part of this. Take it in, and you'll have another show tomorrow. Well, today I guess, and what 11 plus 3.5, 4. You're looking at like 15 hours from now. We'll be live after K-State and Kansas on the football field, Sunflower Showdown. But as we already discussed tonight, baseball dominated the scrimmage at KU tonight. Volleyball, 5-set win in Allen Fieldhouse over the number 14 team in the country. So the K-State football team, the pressure has built even more because now it's on you to come away with a sweep over the weekend in the worst town in Kansas. So for Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Vo. Thanks for watching and listening. We will talk to you again later today after the Cats and the Hawks from Booth Memorial Stadium.